Chris Doumitt has finally broken his silence. And what he's revealing makes every gold haul Parker ever aired look like child's play. For years, viewers believed the wildest moments on that claim made it to TV. But according to Chris, whole nights, whole discoveries, and whole incidents were buried, not just underground, but by the crew itself. And the evidence he held onto wasn't cut for time. Parker personally demanded it erased. This isn't gossip. Chris kept the SD card. He kept the logs. He kept the recordings Parker insisted should disappear forever. And now he's exposing the moment Discovery would never touch. The moment Parker Schnabel realized what was beneath that ground wasn't gold, wasn't natural, and had no business being on any mining site. If you thought you understood Parker's claim, Chris is about to prove you only saw a fraction of the truth. So before we dive in, hit like and subscribe, because this is the footage Parker hoped would stay buried. From the very first second of Chris's raw interview, you feel it. That thick, crushing silence that doesn't settle in a room. It takes over it. Chris is mid-story, casually chatting about behind-the-scenes moments when he suddenly locks up. His eyes drift off camera as if he's stepped on a forgotten tripwire. Then he says it. Not loud, not dramatic, more like a slip he instantly regrets. Yeah, that clip Parker told me never to show anyone. The entire room freezes. The boom operator lowers his arm. The producer's head snaps up. Even Chris looks shocked at his own words, like he didn't mean to let them out. His face drains of color. This isn't a joke. His usual calm is gone. He tries to laugh, but the sound is tight, forced, wrong. His hand even trembles, something you never see from him. The producer leans closer. Chris, what footage? He dodges her eyes, scratches his cheek, adjusts his hat. Classic stalling. He opens his mouth, closes it again, and lets out a laugh no one buys. The producer repeats her question, slow and cautious. Chris finally exhales and mutters, "The card, the one I wasn't supposed to keep." And suddenly, the entire room feels like it loses oxygen, because everyone remembers the chaos around that lost SD card. Chris explains that during the power line accident on the far bench, when the excavator tore through the cables and everyone scrambled, a field camera got slammed. Parker said it was totaled. Nothing salvageable, toss it. The broken camera went to the scrap pile, assumed dead. But the card wasn't dead at all. Chris quietly retrieved it, popped it free, brushed off the dirt, and pocketed it. He told no one. Not Parker, not producers, nobody. Why? Because what was on that card was the moment everything changed. The moment Parker stopped being the Parker everyone thinks they know. For 2 years, Chris replayed that footage in private, unsure the network would even allow him to admit it existed. Then he begins describing it. It doesn't start with mining or gold. It starts with Parker, alone, after midnight, pacing near the tailings with a headlamp, muttering. Chris's camera had been left on standby, recording in low light. And that's when it filmed something no one expected. Parker isn't talking to himself. He's arguing with someone just outside the frame. A voice responds, but no one recognizes it. Not crew, not locals, no one who should have been on the claim. Parker points, paces, saying, "You weren't supposed to be here. We didn't agree on this." This isn't a typical on-site argument. It's personal. Sharp. Then Parker freezes and looks directly into the lens like he suddenly realizes he's being recorded. He snaps off his headlamp. Everything goes dark, except the faint glow of idle machines. You hear him order, "Shut it all down. Now." Moments later, the entire site goes black. Every generator, every tower light. But Chris's camera keeps rolling, unseen. The clip ends with Parker reaching toward the unidentified figure. Then a sudden thump hits the mic. The file cuts. Chris says that was the moment he knew he could never delete the card, because whatever Parker was involved in wasn't something fans were ever meant to see. And it wasn't an accident. He ends his account with a line that chills the room. Parker wasn't alone out there. And that night wasn't an accident. Before anyone can react, the card automatically loads the next hidden file. Morning light. A rock shelf that looks completely wrong for the claim. Too smooth, too aligned, like it was shaped, not formed. Parker crouches beside it, brushing away dirt, breathing hard, not tired, scared. This area was never shown on TV because Parker banned filming there. In the audio, he whispers, "This isn't on any map. Who covered this?" Not the voice of discovery, the voice of someone who knows the land is lying to him. He marks the rock with a strange geometric symbol, nothing he's ever used before. Chris says Parker snuck back alone the next dawn with a detector. When he turned it on, the signal screamed, stronger than any nugget, stronger than any reading they'd ever seen. Not gold, not natural, something else. But instead of digging, Parker buried it, covered it fast, muttering, "We're not showing this." Not excited, terrified. The next day, Parker called an emergency meeting with new documents no one recognized. Not NDAs, far more extreme. Legal language about restricted geospatial anomalies and unverified subsurface assets. Terms no miner had ever heard on a gold claim. The crew signed in uneasy silence. Jokes died in their throats. From that moment on, nothing felt normal. Parker changed the schedule, avoided the ridge, kept reading secret, and shut down every question. Whatever he found, it wasn't gold, and it wasn't meant for TV. Chris says that moment permanently rewired how the entire crew viewed the claim. After that night, every rumble under their boots, every shift in the dirt, every flicker of movement felt tied to whatever Parker was desperately trying to bury. No one dared speak it aloud, but the atmosphere changed. The team started watching the ground the same way Parker watched it, like it could react. And that's when the first warning hit, not from a person, but from the machines. Machines don't panic, don't exaggerate, and don't imagine things. In the hidden footage, the dozer parked closest to the restricted formation begins glitching like it's frying itself from the inside. Its lights flicker, dim, then explode into a brightness that no voltage on site should ever push. The engine coughs, then revs on its own with nobody in the seat. At first, it looks like a simple electrical problem, until the lights die completely, plunging the ridge into blackness, then blast back on in a violent strobe that makes the whole place feel suddenly hostile. The camera catches shadows stretching across the rock shelf, shadows with no crew member standing there to cast them. The lens zooms to the Cat 315's left side, just as hydraulic fluid erupts in a violent spray. Operators run over thinking a pressure line blew, typical for heavy machinery, until they examine the hose. It's not worn, not rubbed through, not stressed. It's sliced, clean, straight, deliberate sabotage. Parker arrives in seconds, moving faster than anyone has ever seen him respond to a mechanical failure. One look at the cut, and his entire expression drains. This isn't shock, it's recognition. He crouches, drags a finger along the razor-edge slice, and in the raw audio, you can hear him whisper, "No, not again, not here," like he's reliving something he never told anyone. And the sabotage isn't random. Only the machines near the forbidden formation were targeted. and only in ways subtle enough to pass as accidents if no one looked closely. Later that night, Parker locks himself inside the radio shack for nearly an hour. When he emerges, every log from that night, every transmission, emergency call, private channel message, has been wiped, not overwritten, erased, like someone didn't want any record of communication coming from that ridge. Then the footage cuts to the moment Chris says he wishes he could erase from his own memory. The standby camera captures a figure moving near the hole Parker had reburied days earlier. The shot is blurry, foggy, distorted, but the silhouette is unmistakably wrong. Taller than anyone on Parker's team, shoulders too broad, posture too controlled, and the boots, definitely not mining boots, sleek, tactical, reflective in a way no work gear is. The figure doesn't walk like they're on loose ground. They move like they've been there before. Parker spots them first and storms toward the shape, shouting words too muffled to decipher. The figure doesn't run or react. They just stand there until the camera loses focus and the whole encounter blurs. Then the audio cuts abruptly. Chris is convinced Parker muted the mic before anyone else could review the raw tape. The next frame shows Parker walking back alone, breathing hard, jaw locked in a way that looks painful. When the crew eventually gathers, still confused, Parker delivers one chilled sentence. "Nobody saw anything. Understand? It's not a warning. It's an order." Chris hesitates before revealing what he believes triggered everything. The metal reading. The signal Parker tried to hide in every possible way. He explains that the handheld detector Parker used wasn't pinging gold. Gold doesn't make perfect angles. It doesn't return a uniform block reading. It doesn't behave like a single engineered object. The reading Parker saw was too consistent, too solid, too manufactured. It was the kind of return you'd expect from a plate, a panel, a structure, something built, not formed. When Chris reviewed the scan footage, he wasn't excited, he was confused. Nothing in Yukon soil naturally forms that geometry or density at that depth. Parker, however, became obsessed, quietly, secretly. Chris found notebooks in Parker's bunk filled with sketches of the formation, diagrams of the signal, attempts to outline the shape underground, and the same strange geometric symbol Parker drew on the rock shelf appeared over and over again. Despite that, Parker never let anyone re-examine the detector, never brought in geologists, never told producers, completely uncharacteristic for him, because Parker has never hidden gold. But what disturbed Chris most was how Parker acted once he decided the discovery was off-limits. He didn't just avoid the ridge, he erased it. He cancelled scans, pulled memory cards from the rover cams, deleted drone footage that showed the ridge from above. He even ordered editors to cut any shot where that ridge appeared in the background. When Chris asked why, Parker gave him a tired, defeated look and said, "Some things aren't meant to be dug up, and if we pretend they're not there, maybe they stay buried." But Chris never believed the signal meant nothing. The secrecy, the fear in Parker's voice, the urgency. Something about the buried object scared Parker in a way gold never could. After that point, the claim didn't just feel tense, it felt watched. Then the SD card jumps forward again. This time, it captures something no crew member ever meant to document. Parker sits on the tailgate of his truck, shoulders caved inward as if the earth itself has shifted beneath him. His hands shake, not from cold or exhaustion, but from a weight no miner can talk about. The camera doesn't zoom or move. It simply records Parker in a state he never lets the audience see. Scared. He wipes his face, trying to steady his breathing. In a cracked whisper, he says, "If this gets out, they'll shut us down. They always do." Chris, filming from a distance, asks the only question that makes sense. "Who's they?" Parker doesn't answer. He doesn't even lift his head. He just stares at the dirt like it might respond for him. The silence lasts longer than any explanation. When he finally speaks, the words fall like stone. "Don't film the ridge. Don't film that formation. Some things are better left buried." He repeats it, like saying it twice might force the truth back underground. Years later, during a present-day interview, Chris finally brings out the SD card everyone assumed had been destroyed. He turns it in his palm like he's weighing every secret attached to it. When he plugs it in, the laptop fills with thumbnails no editor ever reviewed. Misnamed clips, corrupted snapshots, raw files Parker must have missed. But one video stands out. A file with no timestamp and one chilling label embedded in the metadata. "Do not watch. 4:13 a.m. The room freezes. Chris reads the label twice, hand shaking over the trackpad. He admits he avoided this clip for years, not because of fear, but because he didn't want to prove Parker was right to hide it. "Fans deserve to know what was really down there," he says. Not dramatic, just honest. He opens the file. Instantly, the footage snaps into perfect clarity. No damage, no static, just the real moment Parker wanted gone. The camera shows Parker on his knees, in the dirt at the forbidden formation. Gloves off, fingers digging around a metallic edge buried deep beneath the earth. The object he uncovers is sharp, straight, impossibly smooth. It reflects light even after who knows how many years underground. The thing is massive, too big to see all at once, engineered with precision and purpose. Nothing like it belongs in untouched Yukon ground. Parker freezes. He stares at the object like touching it might rewrite everything he knows. When he finally brushes away the dirt, his voice cracks. "This isn't from our century." Chris pauses the frame there, Parker's hand trembling over the metallic surface, panic carved into every line of his face. You can see the instant he realizes the truth. Whatever they found wasn't out of place. It was impossible. Chris turns to the camera, frame still frozen, and says quietly, "This is why he hid it, and this is only the beginning." And as this energetic cycle reaches its final moments, something within you begins to settle, and something else begins to awaken. You can feel it, subtle, quiet, almost like a whisper, pulling you toward a version of yourself you haven't fully met yet, but somehow always known. The path ahead may still look uncertain, but the way you walk it will not be the same. You are stepping out of an old frequency, leaving behind layers that were once necessary for survival but no longer aligned with the person you are becoming. This shift is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is the kind of transformation that moves through your inner world like a warm current, quietly loosening old fears, gently softening old doubts, reminding you that your story is not ending. It is beginning again in a higher form. Everything that felt stuck begins to breathe. Everything that felt heavy begins to lift. You'll notice it in small ways first. The sudden clarity in your thoughts, the courage in your voice, the calm in your heart, the way you no longer negotiate with energies that drain you. Life will start rearranging itself around you, not to test you, but to match you. People, opportunities, messages, and signs will appear with unusual synchronicity, as if reality is reconfiguring itself to support your next chapter. What once felt far away will feel close. What once felt impossible will begin to materialize with ease. And you'll realize that the universe was never withholding anything from you. It was preparing you, aligning you, strengthening you, shaping you into someone who could finally receive what is coming. You may feel moments of uncertainty, moments of questioning, moments when your old self tries to pull you back into familiar patterns. But that is only the echo of a frequency you are no longer vibrating in. You are not returning to who you were. You are rising into who you were always meant to be. And every step you take from this point forward carries a clearer intention, a stronger alignment, and a deeper sense of purpose. The energy of this transition doesn't ask you to rush. It doesn't ask you to force anything. It asks only that you remain open, open to the changes, open to the guidance, open to the version of your life that is trying to unfold for you. Because the moment you open, even slightly, the path opens with you, and everything that once felt blocked begins to shift, dissolve, and reorganize itself in ways you couldn't have predicted. You are entering a phase where your intuition will speak louder than your fears, where your inner compass will guide you more accurately than any external voice, where your heart will sense the truth long before the mind catches up. This is the gift of aligning with a higher timeline. The world around you becomes clearer, the next step becomes obvious, and the energy supports your expansion instead of resisting it. So as this video reaches its final moments, let this be your reminder. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are not stuck. You are transitioning. You are recalibrating. You are stepping into a chapter that your future self has been calling you toward for years. Everything you've lived has prepared you for this moment. The release, the shift, the upgrade, the elevation. And the universe is not done with you. In fact, it is only just beginning. There are breakthroughs you haven't seen yet. There are blessings already traveling toward you. There are opportunities you haven't imagined. There are connections that will change your life. And there is a version of you, stronger, wiser, freer, that you're about to meet. So breathe, trust, allow. The energy ahead is not chaotic. It is purposeful. It is aligning you with what is meant. And if something leaves, it is only making space. If something arrives, it is arriving with reason. If something changes, it is changing in your favor. This chapter is yours. This timeline is yours. This transformation is yours. And the next part of your story begins now.